This is 100% because I wanted to, and why not kind of build right here. So last time this car was on your guys' channel, it was basically just an NA build with Lamborghini Huracan headers on it. Oh my God. This time we got the old twin GT35 turbo strap to it. She's mint. Sorry, I can't say that. Yeah, so basically when the video came out, you know, labeled as a Lamborghini engine, and people were constantly telling me it wasn't, and in the comments, you know, just going ham. I can either go two ways from here. I can swap in an actual Lamborghini engine, or to really shut these people up, I just twin turbo it and call it a day. I don't have 40 grand. I really don't have $2,500, but it seems like a better option, and the car's getting rather boring, so. You know, the car, like I was mentioning before, it had a bunch of rust on it. It really needed kind of a refresh because it was, what, 26 years old at that time. I'd beaten the crap out of it. It was more or less on its last legs. I fully stripped the car. I was able to source the new fenders that I was talking about, got new doors, new hood. The motor came out, trans came out, all the interior came out. So I was basically able to just sand the whole thing down, respray it Merlin purple. It's fully sprayed. I did it in my garage in December because I wasn't able to control the humidity and whatnot. I figured, you know, the less humidity, the better. So that's why I waited till roughly December, January. While I had the car apart for paint, I more or less figured it was a perfect opportunity for me to source a nice set of black interior. Seats, the dash, the carpet, basically everything but the center console, which still to this day remains gray. But then I kind of got done with that, and I realized that I had a fresh, clean slate to deal with because basically the engine bay was completely cleared out. It was just the V10 sitting in there, nothing else. And, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at it, having a beer, and I'm like, I bet you that I could probably fit some twin GT35s in this. So that's kind of how that was inspired. I could kind of like visualize it in my head of the turbos being in two different zip codes. They're CX Racing turbos. I think they were like $350 each. Thought process that I had with purchasing what you would call eBay turbos is that these engines are completely untested. No one has ever boosted, no one's ever twin turboed the 5.2 out of the S6, S8 before. So no one knows the power levels, what they can handle, when they're gonna blow up. And the last thing I wanted to do was spend, you know, 3 grand, 4 grand on a really nice set of turbos, only to put in like 4 pounds of boost and have the thing just instantly grenade. I finished the car Thursday afternoon. It's currently Sunday. I got here yesterday. Drove it around a couple miles away from my house. You know, it was like, okay, it's not leaking, hasn't blown up yet. I think we're good to do a 2-hour drive on the highway, 110 miles away from my house. What could go wrong? This is its maiden voyage, yeah.
I noticed what you're doing, so I wasn't gonna bug you, but you're on Audi Performance on Facebook.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good job.
I appreciate
Can I
it.
take a picture quick? Am I interrupting?
Obviously with just the engine in, fenders came off, everything was off the car. I had both of the GT35s in my hand. I kind of made a bracket that bolted on to where the fenders would sit, ran a bar across it, and then I was able to hang both turbos from that bar. So that kind of gave me an idea of roughly where my manifolds had to land. So I was kind of able to design exhaust manifold, like log style manifolds, to kind of meet up to where the turbos are sitting. But as far as like taking an NA car that's high compression, 12.5 to 1, like that's pretty high. And then figuring out like how to route breather hoses, no, never done that before. This is the first time. Both turbos were completely perfectly symmetrical. Like I had them within like a millimeter or two. And when I welded the tile 38mm wastegate on it, it caused the manifold, like it warped the piping ever so slightly. And it pulled it up about a 1/4 inch there, which means over here, it pulled it up about a whole inch. So this one's sticking up a little bit higher now. Had to notch out the hood ever so slightly to make that fit.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Exactly, most people do not.
You didn't have to tell me, and I wouldn't have known.
Nobody would have known. So sorry guys, but that happened. This downpipe, the clearance to it isn't the greatest, so I have a little bit of heat wrap on it just to kind of make sure it doesn't go blowing up on me. I'm not a fabricator by trade, but that's kind of the cool thing about like being able to do all this in my garage is I don't have to pay anybody to do this. I can kind of just buy the material and do it myself. This downpipe right here probably cost me about $30. I take that to a shop and I say, hey, I need downpipes made. Okay, that'll be $800 or $900. But then you do that because you need headers made, and then they have to make you headers. That's gonna be another couple grand. Like, being able to do everything yourself, you just gotta know how to weld, which for me, I never went to school for any of that. I just kind of started doing it in my garage, just kind of picking it up, bought a unit, went on YouTube, figured out how to make like intercooler kits, because these cars with a factory 5-cylinder, nobody made intercooler kits. I think I made like 5 intercooler kits in like 2 weeks, sold them, and then that more or less paid for the welder right there. And that's kind of when I was like, okay, you know, maybe I'm getting somewhere with that. I made a set of up pipes for it. They looked really, really cool. And everybody thought for the longest time that I was just gonna be running a hood dump on it. The factory silver hood that I had on here, I'd like cut holes in it and everything. And I really sold it on the whole Instagram and stuff that like I was going to be doing this. And people were like, you're gonna ruin it. But just in the one day where I spent bleeding the coolant out, where you know, you have the motor running for 30 minutes at a time, you're down here checking for leaks and whatnot, I got a really bad migraine. Just from the car idling in my driveway, and I said, okay, you know what, we're not doing that anymore. So this is 100% because I wanted to, and why not kind of build right here. No one's ever done anything like this, and I guess that's kind of what I wanted. So you know what, like a good response to someone saying, why did you get rid of the 5-cylinder is, you know, I wanted to double everything basically. So double the cylinders, double the turbos, decrease the reliability. That doesn't double, unfortunately. I got the GT35s up here. They actually feed down like right next to the fender and into the bumper. There are twin intercoolers on either side, and then those kind of get fed back up through here into the throttle bodies. Nice. So completely hidden out of the way. I still got to make shrouds for them because, as you can imagine, they don't get a good amount of airflow right now. But we're working on that, you know? I think last time, you know, 60% of the time, the car started every time. It goes.
Is your battery dead?
No, you just gotta kind of do the jiggle and there it is. 60% of the time, it starts every time. It was just a faulty starter that was kind of causing that issue, so I replaced the starter, so now 100% of the time, it starts every time. Hello, Mr. Leaf. It had some wiring gremlins in it that I've since sorted out. Not necessarily an issue now. I'm working on a whole nother set of issues. you get one issue, you fix it, and then like 3 others pop up. Realistically, I only want to see like 700, maybe 800 horsepower out of this thing. I'm not looking to kind of break limits or set records here. I just want a nice car that makes bully noises and has a good amount of power to back it up. It had like the factory ECU box that was right here. Not gonna end well for you. Just try to relocate everything, and the best possible place I could figure that out in my mind was running it under the secondary firewall cowl. So that like both the ECUs live back there, the relays, the fuses. And again, that's all gonna change once I kind of figure out what standalone system I wanna go with. But like everything else with this car and myself, it's good enough. As far as like clearance came, because you did have like the factory ABS that sat here, as well as like the massive vacuum assisted booster, was that none of this was going to play nicely with the header system, the turbos, the downpipes. I was told by a friend of mine that the Chase Bay's kind of brake booster delete kit, more or less, it's just manual brakes, that it's really good and it takes up minimal room and it's fairly simple to install. Maybe it's a shameless plug, I don't know. But I absolutely love this unit. It's a full-on manual setup, and it raises the pivot point, to my understanding. So it changes like the pedal ratio from a 4-to-1 to a 6-to-1. So you're using less brake pressure to generate the same amount of pressure for the brakes. That Porsche sounds incredible, by the way. So funny enough, like I've had Forza all the way back to, I think, Forza 4. Forza 5, you could put like the older Audis, like I think it was the RS2 or something like that, with the V10. And I was like, God, that'd be so cool, you know, a station wagon like that. So that's kind of what drove the whole build in the first place. It is more or less a Forza swap car. As far as the turbos go, I honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. It was a horrible idea. I haven't had enough time to have it tuned. It was basically finish it Thursday, drive it here Saturday. The car is still running the naturally aspirated tune. The intercoolers are all connected to the turbos. It's basically just this one pipe that I disconnected from the intercooler, so that way the engine's not gonna see any boost. It's just, you're just like, so how much power is this thing making? Same as last time. So I'm kind of at my wit's end with this, because there's two separate ways I could go as far as like tuning is concerned. You know, I could either spend a lot of money for like the Syvax, which is like $10,000, $12,000, or I create a custom intake manifold with port injection. So that way I can basically just go out there and just buy a $3,500 fuel tech unit or whatever that can run 10 port injectors.
Stop! Joel sent us this clip 2 weeks after filming.
Quick little update. I got a haircut. Nah, just kidding. Decided to switch to port injection. So why am I switching to port injection? Well, because I want to run the Max ECU standalone, which is $3,200 versus the Syvax for $12,000. Figured now's a good time. Get rid of this engine harness. We don't need that where we're going. In that price point, I get to kind of incorporate a nice tucked harness for this engine bay. It's gonna look frickin' sick, bud. And one last thing. Check out this beautiful OEM C6 RS6 intake manifold. Got them big old fat intake runners on it. And if you're not familiar with the C6 RS6, it's a V10 twin turbo from the factory. So, you know this thing's gonna be able to make the power. Looking forward to it.